Hey there, welcome back to another edition of Celtics Roundtable here on the Boston Celtics news feed. We're coming at you on a Friday right after the Celtics beat the Philadelphia 76ers 108-97 behind Kyrie Irving's 36 points. Al Horford chipped in 21. I'm Matt Ignall here, joined by Sam Sheehan, but we're first going to let Zaire have the first crack at this, since Zaire always brings the energy. Zaire, what's your major takeaway from this game?
Well, tonight's game was not like the super exciting game. It wasn't that super, we're down 50 points and we got to come back type of game. It was pretty much a first place team playing a team that's finding its identity, finding its way in the Eastern Conference. And, you know, what happened is what was supposed to happen tonight. The Celtics played in a competitive contest, but pulled away at the end. So, you know, I'm very pleased with this win, even though, like I said, the dramatics weren't there. But this is one of those wins that you look at once, you know, if you end the season with 60 wins, it's like, oh, yeah, we got 60 wins because we won games like this.
Yeah, I mean, my big takeaway from the game is my man Nick Stauskas seeing the floor and almost getting that club trillion with 10 minutes played and no stats except for a steal and a foul. So
that'd be like club 10 trillion then, right?
Yeah. Oh, I guess that's the 10 trillion club then. So, congrats to Nick for getting that done. Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything Zaire just said. I mean, you know, it did really, you know, it was more boring. But I guess sometimes boring can be good when you're just trying to, you know, take care of business against, you know, a team that's at this point in time, especially sans Embiid, you know, basically your little brother within the division. So, you know, the Celtics, you know, kind of pushed them around. To their credit, you know, the Sixers played hard. They they hit some threes. They you know, they were in the game. They had contact. It was just, you know, when it came down to winning time, the Celtics just sort of, you know, stepped on them, and that was that.
Yeah, 16 threes on 32 attempts for the 76ers. The Celtics had 12. Yeah, the Sixers moved the ball really well. 24 assists for them, 25 for Boston. I thought both teams kind of got a lot of open shots. The Celtics were probably a little bit better at closing out on their shooters, but really to no avail, as the Sixers pretty much got what they wanted down there. But I thought this was maybe a little bit of a return to form for the Celtics defense, which had definitely slipped over the last few games, holding the Sixers to 97 points. You know, fairly impressive, even though the Sixers aren't a great offensive team. I thought we did see the Celtics' effort level return a little bit, and maybe that's due to the fact that they finally had some days off for once. But yeah, I agree with you guys. Good, solid win, but you know, it can't be that boring when Kyrie Irving goes off for 36 points and is twisting in the lane, you know, several times in a row. He was 5 for 8 from 3. I mean, the dude's like he's coming along. That shooting percentage is coming up. That 3-point percentage is coming up. It's good to see.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot eat soup on your lap when Kyrie Irving is playing, or you will make a mess. Like at some point during the game, he's gonna do something that's gonna make you stand out and go, oh, like that. I feel like, you know, we've been watching Kyrie for about a quarter of a season now, and you know, I kind of thought I'd seen everything he has in his bag of tricks, but you know, I still every time there's something that just makes me go, oh my. So, and I think that, you know, that's the power of Kyrie Irving, but I think also to his credit, you know, that was about the quietest, you know, for as flashy as Kyrie is, that just seemed like business to me. You know what I'm saying? Like he was just out there doing it. You know, it didn't seem like I was witnessing a spectacular Kyrie performance. It just looked like I was watching Kyrie, who, you know, I think that this is something he can do on a pretty regular basis, because it really didn't look like he was exerting himself that much. I mean, maybe I'm on an island here, but it seemed like, you know, 36 points is very impressive. I don't want to get it twisted, but like he did it very easily, which I think bodes well for the Celtics.
Yeah, there was a little struggle tonight in his scoring, which, you know, was obvious. And I think, you know, we talked in the past when we didn't have the most talented team out there. We talked in the past about when we didn't win is because the other team had more talent. And tonight, the shoe was on the other foot. This year, the shoe was on the other foot. This team has more talent than probably 95% of the teams it's going to face this year. Maybe even 96% of the teams it's going to face this year. Mm-hmm. And you saw that tonight. And so, I mean, it's good to be in this position. Even, despite what happened at the beginning of the year, they still are very, 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 very loaded. And that's why they are where they are.
And they share the ball great. That was probably the main thing that stuck out to me. They scored 108 points, but they could have had a lot more. They had plenty of open threes, a lot of them corner threes. They missed a bunch of those. Let me double-check that stat here.
3 for 12, yeah.
Yeah, corner threes, 25%. Not great. But I thought the ball movement was pretty excellent. I guess it helps that Embiid's not playing, but then again, I'm not sure how effective he is against guys like Al Horford, who had a very nice night on his own. Yep.
I was wrong. I misspoke. The bench was 3 for 12 from 3. Overall, 12 from 29, which isn't bad.
I'm seeing 25% from corner 3, so 3 for 12.
Yeah,
it could have been.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and something else too. I mean, I noticed this during the game, and the stats kind of back it up a little bit. Sixers actually out-rebounded the Celtics despite missing more shots, which is kind of hard to do. And I think that kind of credit to Rashawn Holmes and Dario Saric and some of those other guys. Celtics did get worked a little bit on the boards, and I think that speaks to the effort level. A lot of the big rebounds we saw in this game were shorter guys like Marcus Smart and Terry Rozier getting in there and, creating these really impressive looking rebounds over bigger guys. But the fact that they were the ones that had to work for them was sort of a little bit more indicative. So I think that that's something the Celtics are going to need to take a look at for a team that was a very good rebounding team and has been, to start the year. You don't want to see that fall away because I think that's a really important part of this great Celtics defense.
And Brad Stevens pointed out that Terry Rozier rebound, the one where he ripped it down, and that's kind of when the Celtics really took off and put the game away. That was like the play that stuck out to Brad Stevens. But you're right, Philadelphia had a 35% offensive rebound percentage per cleaning the glass. That's 89th percentile. For the Celtics, I think they crept up to number 1 in defensive rebounding percentage. Certainly slipping a little bit here. Yeah, I thought Philly's effort level was kind of a little bit higher, which is a little bit discouraging. But I think that might just be kind of the fact that Embiid wasn't in there. Maybe the Celtics didn't get up 100% for this fight, and they really didn't need to, since they certainly the superior team without Embiid.
Yeah, I wouldn't complain too much about the effort level. I mean, like I've said in the past, teams that are less talented, they play harder usually because they have to. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it looks in the eyes. You see like the little bug fighting to climb up the hill. That's what happens. But when you don't have to, you don't. Not to say that you don't play hard, but you're not. It doesn't appear that you're trying as hard because it looks so easy.
And quick RIP to my man Amir Johnson, taken down by a sniper today. It's too bad. Really appreciated him and his time in Boston today. So you hate to see that. He tripped over his own feet, right? I'm not the only one that saw that, right?
It was go ahead.
Daniel Tice, wasn't it him? He got the back of his sneaker kind of sort of.
Maybe
it looked worse. It looked worse than it should have. But
Maybe.
I was hoping he wasn't hurt. I'm like, is this dude hurt? Like
he went down so fast. I've never seen a guy go down like that. I was really worried he hurt himself, but it's like, oh, that's just Amir. I've seen him fall that awkwardly for so many years.
We gotta wrap this show up, man. And I think in talking about my man Mook Morris is gonna bring some energy onto this show. We gotta wrap this.
Before we get to that, I gotta talk about a different source of energy here. One that comes from your clothing. This episode is sponsored by Action Heat. They make heated clothing powered by rechargeable batteries. They're the perfect solution to keep you toasty and warm, even in the most frigid winter weather. They safely and effectively deliver heat via heating panels, similar to a heated car seat, or Zaire bringing the heat when it comes to Marcus Morris. Stay tuned. We'll get through this. Action Heat batteries can also be used to recharge your phone or any other gadget while you're wearing them, because it is the future. They have products that fit everyone's budget, starting at just $39.99. We have a special deal here for our listeners. You get 15% off the entire order when you go to action-heat.com/Celtics, or just use the coupon code Celtics at checkout. Stay toasty and warm while you enjoy all of your outdoor activities this winter with Action Heat, and we thank them for sponsoring this podcast. All right, second one. Listen up, Hoop fans. Basketball season is back. And now that your favorite hardwood heroes have returned to action, it's time for you to put your fantasy knowledge to the test to win huge cash prizes every night playing one-day fantasy basketball at DraftKings.com. At DraftKings, there's so many ways to play. You can choose from public contests with huge cash prizes or private contests where you compete against your friends. The best part is you get to draft a new team each day, and you can win cash while doing it. Huge cash prizes and bragging rights await only at DraftKings. Be sure to use the code CLNS at DraftKings.com to play for free with your first deposit for your share of $10,000 in total prizes. Use the code CLNS at DraftKings.com. The game inside the game. Disclaimer, minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. All right, take it away, Zaire.
All right, so Marcus Morris is a guy who, when he was acquired through the Avery Bradley trade, I mean, people weren't jumping off of bridges, but, you know, they weren't the most enthusiastic about bringing or welcoming Marcus Morris in, and it could be because of the reputation that some people think he's a criminal, and he was acquitted for whatever that, you know, supposedly it happened. So you can't, you know, fairly say that. But, you know, some people just weren't excited about having him in. And when I saw him, I just felt like, man, if Brad Stevens can take Jay Crowder and make him, you know, from a reserve that's at the end of the bench to a credible starter on a playoff team that makes it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and what can he do with Marcus Morris, who is, in my opinion, more talented, who doesn't have to work as hard to do the things that Jay Crowder had to do. So just like tonight, I mean, a great thing about him tonight, he started out 1 for 5, and I think one of those shots was a bit unfair because he launched like pretty much a full court shot that almost went in. But, you know, for the rest of the game, 5 for 6 and scoring 17 off the bench. When you look at what this guy has done this season, and I'm never like one to go to the per 36 minute stats because I always thought that was just like stupid, but it's just something that pops out right now. If you look at his numbers, per 36 minutes, he's averaging 19.3 points per game, and that's a high in his career. And Jay Crowder never averaged that per 36 minutes while he was here in Boston. So when you look at things like that and you look at what he's able to do, you know, based off of this system, he's shooting 39% from 3 right now. That's a career high at the moment. And I know it's only 12 games, but still, I mean, it's not like he's doing something that's like way over his head. He's playing basketball, and it's just in a better system and in a better situation for him. And he didn't have training camp, and he only had 1 practice this year, according to what I've heard. So when you look at what he's done, I think there's only better to expect from him.
Sam, you want to get stupid with this?
I'd like to channel my inner Stephen A. Smith. Marcus Morris had an incredible game tonight. He was one of the reasons the Celtics won this ball game, and he did a great job off the bench. But I think that you know, I think that Marcus Morris, one of my big things with Marcus Morris is that he's been starting a lot of games, and I think that is not where his talents are best utilized. And I think I was vindicated a little bit tonight when, you know, they started Aaron Baines in place of Morris. They had Morris come off the bench, and he had an excellent game playing with those second units. This is an incredibly small sample size, but so far this year, the Celtics have had, you know, all sorts of lineups. If you sort them by lineups that have 5-man lineups that have played 10 or more minutes together, the Marcus Morris plus the starters is -22. That's the -22 on the year. The next closest lineup is -10. The next closest after that, -6. Most of the lineups are above 0 because this is a Celtics team that wins. However, the third highest scoring lineup this year is Aaron Baines, Shane Larkin, Marcus Morris, Terry Rozier, and Marcus Smart, a.k.a. the bench unit, because I think that is where Marcus Morris's talents are most it's what he benefits from the most. Also, a lot of his lineups that he plays well in tend to involve Marcus Smart. I think those two have a pretty good chemistry and synergy, and I think we saw it tonight with Smart laying down some nice passes for Marcus and finding him in it, Marcus too, and finding him in his sweet spot. But I think that this is something the Celtics, and if I'm Brad Stevens, I would look for to do more, because Marcus Morris he's going to want to score the ball, and that is just more beneficial in a second unit alongside these guys who are not as good at scoring, like Shane Larkin, Shemi Ojale, Marcus Smart, Daniel Tice. Like, he can have the keys to those offenses. So I don't know. I just think that this is, I think the Celtics have really done poorly in the lineups where it's the starters plus Marcus Morris, and I think they benefit a lot more from, reeling him back in and putting him with the bench unit. And that's not necessarily a knock on Marcus per se. I just think he fits a lot better there than he does with the starters.
And that could be true. I think that in time we'll see. I think he's needed more with the bench unit. I will agree with that. But I think he can play with the starting unit too. Once again, just, he didn't have the time to prepare that the other guys did. Not that they had a lot of time to prepare together too, because, this team got rushed together. But, I think he kind of should get the benefit of the doubt with having to deal with core issues, injuries, and things of that nature, but still being able to come in, contribute. He's helped the team win a couple games. Not to say that, he hasn't made them lose any games. I'll say that, but he's been instrumental in a few wins as well. But his numbers have just been, to me, solid. And like I said, I can't see why it won't get better. And I think he'll be so important in the playoffs. Just being a player where we talk about Jason Tatum, how, he's a bit, people describe Tatum as timid at times. And I don't think he's timid. I just think he makes the right basketball play. Where Marcus Morris is that he's the opposite of that, but he's not the opposite in a way where it's a detriment because you have so much talent. It would be a detriment if you had nothing. You know what I'm saying? But the fact that you have other guys that you can say, you know what? All right, Marcus, it's not working for you tonight. Have a seat. You know what I'm saying? Where he's in a good situation for the game that he plays, and he keeps you guessing. You don't know if he's going to tee off for a three. You don't know if he's going to drive to the basket. He gives you that element of surprise that is so important in winning basketball games.
Hey, if I'm a defender, I'm just sitting on that shooting hand and saying, put it on the floor, because his mid-range pull-up is money. When you get up on him, I think he struggles a little bit more. His net rating through 13 games is negative 1.2 per 100 possessions. That is among guys who get regular rotation minutes. That's second worst, next to Shemi Ojale. As Sam mentioned, because the Celtics are a really good team, most of the guys are really significantly in the positive. But it is a small sample, and you got to wonder if he is, being used with the optimal lineups for his skill set. But I think that also it just kind of takes a little bit more time to fill in. He is a plus 3-point shooter. I think that's something that could fit in well with the starters. It might just be using him more as a fourth or a fifth option. But certainly he can get his own shot off with the bench units, which is really valuable as well. Do
you want to try and guess who was team leader in plus minus?
Marcus Smart.
6
I didn't even have to
turnover,
look.
Marcus Smart. 6 turnover, 2 for 6, Marcus Smart.
Yeah, those alley-oops, man.
I really think the Boston Celtics subreddit Twitter account tweeted this out, and I really believe it. The more he misses, the stronger he becomes. It's just powerful.
The paradox. It's a great nickname for him.
To use a baseball kind of analogy, or I don't even know if this is an analogy, but comparison, to me, Marcus Morris is like a player that's on a lineup where the lineup, you got about 3 guys that can hit 30 home runs. You know what I'm saying? And you got 4 or 5 guys that's going to flirt around 300. And then Marcus Morris is like that 280, 20 home run hitter where, if he was the best that you had, it's like, uh-oh, but he's not. But he's he's an asset. You know what I'm saying? And then Marcus Smart on the other end is like a pitcher where his ERA is around 4.50, but somehow he gets 16, 17 wins, and you're like, ooh, your record is 17-8, but you got like the worst ERA on the team out of all the starters. How are you doing this on that end? So, I mean, some things just don't seem to add up. But when you're watching the game and you look and you say, okay, sometimes you see Marcus Morris in the lineup with guys that aren't that good. You know what I'm saying? like they're not the best players in the game. So that kind of messes with your plus minus. And you see Marcus Smart where he'll be out there screwing around, flipping the ball over the place. And then all of a sudden he's out there with Al Horford and Kyrie Irving. And these guys are knocking down shots. And then all of a sudden he's got 5-6 assists. And I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve those assists. I mean, he plays great with those guys. But there's times when he doesn't play so great. And so it's like, yeah, it looks way better when you're out there with all-stars versus being out there with guys that aren't all-stars.
Brad Stevens loves him, and that's good enough for me.
Hey, I mean, that's all that matters.
All right. If you like this show, hit the like button. Subscribe to CLNS Media if you're watching us on YouTube. If you prefer to check us out on the go, you can always subscribe to the Boston Celtics newsfeed, which is available on your favorite podcast app, or just download the CLNS Media mobile app. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at CLNS Roundtable, and we are now on Celtics blog. Find our videos there. I want to thank Sam Sheehan and Zaire for joining me on this Friday edition of Celtics Roundtable. We'll be back with the Monday mailbag. So send in your questions, either comment on this YouTube video or we'll reach out on Twitter. So be sure to check that out. Good win for the Celtics, and they will take on the Suns Saturday at 1. So early game. Don't forget that. So
watch out for that 70-point scoring guy, man. You know, he might mess around and put up 80 this time.
Didn't happen. Fake 70 points. All right. See you later.